don't worry about the success. That's another big misconception that creatives like is we want fame and fortune. That's always the goal, fame and fortune. But fame and fortune are two dragons, and you can chase those dragons forever and you will never catch them. The thing is don't chase dragons, don't chase fame and fortune. Chase your passion. If you chase your passion, you ride the dragon, and the fame and fortune will follow you.
Everyone told Paul Pape, you can't build a business on custom work. 20 years later, Disney, Universal, and The Tonight Show are calling him. I'm Brent Lindstrom. Welcome back to Like-Minded Arts, where today we are interviewing Paul Pape. And most people, they struggle with finding pricing, clients, and staying consistent. Paul, on the other hand, built a business where every single piece is custom, and he's been booked for decades now. Today, we're breaking down what he did.
At that time, we were living in LA, my wife and I. We were trying to do the LA thing. We were doing the films and television. She's a costume designer. I was set designer, so we were doing production design, all that fun stuff. And I was talking to a good friend of mine who was a writer, and he opened my eyes to something else in the business that a lot of designers don't recognize when you're in school. In the industry, which if you're in the movie making business, you understand this as well, doesn't matter how good of a designer you are, somebody has to bring you along. They don't just randomly pick designers. You don't audition to be a designer. You're brought along with somebody's vision. It's usually the director or the producer. And he was a good friend of mine. He's like, you're brilliant. And I worked with him on a few projects. And he's like, you're probably one of the best designers that I've known. And I'm like, awesome. Can you get me some work? He goes, I will. But I got 10 other guys in front of you. So you're going to have to wait your turn. Because I've known them longer, we've had a longer relationship, etc. And I was like, how long's that? He goes, it's about 10, 15 years. I'm like, I ain't got that kind of time. It's like, that's not going to be for me. And then right around that same time, my wife, who was tired of the LA experience, because she's from small town, or from Omaha, Nebraska here, she decided to pick up some summer stock work in Iowa, which is the state next to ours. And then she let me know. She's like, oh, I'm doing summer stock in Iowa. I'm like, oh, that's really great. She goes, I'm not coming back.
Have you ever felt like your talent isn't enough? Okay, so this is the truth. This is the part that nobody tells you. Talent is not enough. You need somebody to help bring you along. And Paul, he realized that he didn't want to wait for 15 years to get permission. I don't know about you, but I can totally relate.
But in my third year, one of the students that I had, who ended up being a friend that I've had since then, he's still a friend of mine, he asked me, could I sculpt for him? Because I was a designer, I was always making something. And he's like, can you sculpt the Nintendo Me avatar of myself and my girlfriend so that I can give it to her for Valentine's Day? And this is right when the Wii came out. This is the big gaming system that it was very super popular. Sure. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And so I made that for him. It's just, here, I like making things for people I like. And he paid me $50, I think is what it was. And I was like, sure, here you go. And I didn't know this, but he had posted it on a website called Super Punch. And this is before social media. There was no Facebook. There wasn't any of that stuff. And he posted it on Super Punch, and it went viral. And what happened is he had put my information in the post, and so I started getting calls and emails asking for me to make their avatars as well. And I ended up making about 1,000 of them, all hand sculpted. And what ended up happening is I found a lot of joy in that, and I was doing it on the side, but I was making more money doing that on the side than I was teaching. And the teaching aspect of the professor side was 60 hours a week. And so I was doing the side hustle, making more money, and I loved it. And so I asked my wife, I said, can I quit this stable income and try to do this other thing full time?
Sorry for the interruption. Just one thing. If you like podcasts, go on over and check out my podcast. Also, I just did a wonderful interview over at A Writer's Day. I'm going to put the link in the description below. Check out their podcast. Great people over there. Now, back to our show.
And so I asked my wife, I said, can I quit this stable income and try to do this other thing full time? And I mean, she knows me well enough. I mean, we've been married for now almost 25 years, but then she's like, I'll give you a year. If you can make it work, go for it. But if not, you got to get steady employment. I'm like, okay, not a problem.
Let me put this in perspective. Paul made more in 2 weeks than most creatives make in a year, and it was not luck. It was momentum meeting preparation.
And I think 3 months into that, I hit my second viral thing, and I made $50,000 in 2 weeks. And she's like, I think you got this under control. And so that was 20 years ago.
And just when you think the story can't escalate any further, the biggest companies in the world start calling him.
That ability to take on any job and accomplish it is what led to me getting picked up by companies like Disney or Universal, Nickelodeon, The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, is that they call me up with a crazy idea. They're like, we don't know how to do this. We just have this crazy, the writers came up with a crazy idea. Can it be done? And for me, the answer is always yes. It's one of the greatest improv rules I ever learned. Yes, and I'll figure it out later. and that's really what I do. And so I've spent 20 years doing that. And then I've built a career of making memories tangible. Like, I think we all want to go through and leave a lasting impression on other people. We want to be remembered because, unfortunately, the reality is once you pass, only the current generation will remember who you are, unless you do something either really horrific or something really glorious. And so we all want to touch people's lives in a way that will make you memorable. And my wife is the one who told me that I make memories tangible for people. And it was when I was in the thick of making custom engagement ring boxes. These would be people who come up with like nerdy ideas and they're like, oh, I'd like it as a ring box. And I'm like, sure, let's do that. And what I realized was that moment in time for those people is fleeting. It's a moment in which somebody has to work up the courage to ask that person to be their life partner. And then they have a ring, typically in a throwaway box. They put the ring on the finger and then that memory is gone. But what I do instead is I encapsulate their entire relationship into something that they together have like basically become a union over. And then when they go to propose, then that is the memory of that moment and the moment leading up to it before this new life begins. And they get to put that on a shelf, and every time they see it, they are reminded of everything that came before. They're reminded of that moment. It is a tangible memory. And I think that's one of the coolest things that I get to experience in my job, is that while I'm not changing the world as a whole, I'm affecting lives in a way that is more emotional and has more depth than any product that you can put out there.
Hey folks, if you're enjoying this, don't forget to check out Paul Pape at his website. Links in the description or below. And also, if you want to catch the whole interview, I also have a link to the podcast with the full interview there. So check it out. See you next time.